So today I'm going to be teaching us about variables. Now, most of the programming concepts you will learn or hear about are actually common across different programming languages. For example, variables, your conditionals, your loops, they are concepts that you will learn across different programming languages. So I just want you to see it as though you are communicating the same thing, but then you are speaking different languages. You are using different language to communicate the same thing. So, having said that, variables are just like containers that are used to hold or to store values. I want you to see a variable as like a reference or a pointer to a particular object in the memory. Anyway, so when creating a variable in any programming language, you want to give it a name. Now, in naming your variable, there are there are different rules that you should follow or guidelines that should be followed. We call that naming convention. So I'm going to show us some naming conventions in Python when it comes to variables, right? But some of these are actually also common to other programming languages too. But the very first one I have here is your variable must not start with a number or a digit, right? The second one I have here is that your variable name can be any case. It can be uppercase, lowercase, mixed case, but preferably you want to use something like camel case, your snake case, your Pascal case. I mean, this is applicable when you are dealing with more than one word in your variable name. Now, another point is that you cannot start a variable name with any special character except for underscore. Now you can only your variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores. Okay. Also, your variable names cannot contain white space. This is also applicable for when you're using more than one word to describe or to name your variable. So you can't separate those words with white space. Okay. Now your variable name can be of any length, but should be as descriptive and precise as possible. In fact, it should not be too long, but at the same time, you can make it descriptive but also precise. Another one is that you can actually use keywords. So keywords are those words that are predefined or they have been designated for a particular purpose. You understand? In any language. So also we have some Python keywords. We'll see that when we get to the practical section actually. Now, this one is very important. This last point is very, very important. In fact, you can make the mistake at any stage of your programming life. Now, Python is case sensitive. Naming in Python is case sensitive. We'll see what that means when we get to the practical section as well. Okay. All right. So, um, we've learned different things about programming. I mean, about variables. So let's see some good and bad naming convention examples. So let's just randomly create variables. So I'll just assume I'm creating a variable and I'm giving it the name, maybe score. Now, to create variable in Python, all you just have to do is to specify the variable name on the left and then with your equal sign, and then on the right side just give it the value you want to assign to it. Now the funny thing is, this is actually very interesting because in some other programming languages you have to start, you know you must actually specify the data type of the variable you are creating. So if it's an integer, you have to say int score, and then probably on the same line still assign value or assign value separately. But in Python, automatically Python can detect what nature or what type of data you are storing just by giving it whatever value you want to give to it. So this is a variable that I've created, right? I'm using Google Colab, by the way. So if you have it, you don't have to install anything. Just go to your browser. If you have, I think you should have access to it. Just search for Google Colab and then the notebook, you can have access to it. All right, so I've created this particular variable Okay, maybe I should just print out the value that is in it, print, and then score. So your print, okay, let's see. Yeah, so it brings out 29. All right, so what can we do to this again? Can we see the type? Can we just see what type of data is here? Okay, so let's see. Right, so it says this is an integer value. So what if I want to change this and just make it maybe 8.5, right? So let's run this code again. So we see that the value changed, right? And then the data type also changed to float. Now on the right is your value you are trying to assign or you are trying to store in this container that is called score. All right, so I think that is simple enough. So we can actually practice create, I mean, a number of other variables. So I can create maybe I call this stud to represent student, and then in that I specify the name of the student. So maybe I will just call the student Teresa, and then I had another print statement, and then I print name. So I'm just, I mean, I print stud. Yeah, and then I also want to know the type of stud. Type. So let's see. Yeah, so I can see here that we have the first print statement says print score. That's the score. Print stud. That's the what's it called now? Stud is Teresa, and then type score, and then type stu. So I don't know why it's not bringing the second type. Really, why it's not bringing the type for score? Anyways, but let me see what if I put this in a print statement, if that even makes sense. See, all right, so at least that prints out the type. So I've successfully created two variables. One, it's a numeric variable, but this time it's a float because it has decimal points. The second one is a string, it's a text, and your string is always represented in a quote. Should have the quotation mark and all. So let's see. So it's just simple. Creating variable is very simple here in Python. That's what I want to establish with that first one. Now creating a variable. Let me give you this task. Just take a moment. Create a variable to store the age of students. How do you do that? So you can do that on your own. Yeah. So I'm going to do mine now. So I can say this will be age, and then the value of the age of student. This student is 14 years, right? And then I can just print that value, right? I can just say age is equal to then age. Okay, so what this my print statement will just do is to print this text that is in quotes and then concatenate or joins it with this value age, right? So I've done that. I hope you've done yours too. So the next thing is I want us to create a variable that stores the sum of two numbers. Sum of two numbers. Now, what I actually want to achieve here, let me go back here and say something. Okay. Now, when you're creating your variable name, the name should be, I do advise actually that the name should be something that really tells what the variable is going to store. You understand? So if I say create a variable a that stores the age of students, some people might just randomly put age or y is equal to 14. Now the thing is, you won't get an error if you do that, right? But the whoever comes back to your code might not really quickly get what y is for or what y represents. So I do advise that you give it a name that describes the kind of data or the kind of value that is going to be stored in it. Okay, so having said that, I want us to create another variable that stores the sum of two number. If I'm going to do mine, I'm simply just going to call it sum. You can actually also call it total or whatever name that you want to give to it, but just make sure that it describes what it's going to store, the value that it's going to store. So let's say 2 plus 5, right? And then I'm just going to print sum. Mhm, sum. All right, so one of the points mentioned earlier in the first part of the video is that when you're creating a variable that is going to involve or require you using more than one word, it's recommended that you use camel case, snake case, or Pascal case. So for camel case, the first letter of each word is capitalized. That's just the concept of that one. Then for snake case, each word is actually separated with an underscore. And then for Pascal case, the first letter of each word is capitalized. So let's see the difference. So if I'm going to create a variable from the first task that I gave, which is to create a variable that stores the age of students, I can just name the variable as age, right, of students. Now this is camel case is equal to 14, right? And then if I'm going to be using snake case, I'm going to be separating each word I'm using with underscore. So I can say age of student mhm, is equal to 14. Also, if I'm going to be using a Pascal case, that means the first letter of each word will be capitalized. Okay, so I'm going to be having age of student is equal to 14. Actually, anyone you want to use is okay. Okay, age of mm, all right. All right. So another thing I want you to notice, these are actually different names as far as Python is concerned. I talked about case sensitivity the other time, so it doesn't see this as the same name. Okay. However, you can choose any convention that you like, whether you're using a camel case, Pascal case, or in fact, there can be other ones, but I'm actually familiar with these three, right? Okay, so another thing that we pointed out is that you can't use keywords as variable name. So let's see the keywords we have in Python. So to see that, you just use your help and then you put keywords and then it prints out the list of keywords that we have in Python. You can see the false, none, true, and, has, assert, else, elif, in, import. In the course of the trading, we'll get familiar with most of these keywords actually. So I hope that you follow along as we learn. So there are other naming conventions actually, especially for other identifiers, which I might not have mentioned in this video. So I will recommend that you visit this link here. Okay, you see naming convention for identifiers there. Okay, so I haven't said that. I hope I'm not missing out anything from the previous one that the first aspect of the video, we've mentioned that you should not start. Oh, maybe we should actually test that. Let's try putting a character. So maybe I will say three Okay, so let's assume the name of the variable is two score is equal to 10. Then can we print two score? All right. Okay, so we see we have invalid syntax, and if you come here, it's actually pointing to the fact that you are starting this with a numeric value. So to correct that, if I still want to use the word two, I could actually introduce my camel case here and make this like this, and then when I come here, I just print two score, and there shouldn't be any other error. So that said, I hope, yeah, so we can also try putting in characters. So let's see. Okay, so we can see we can use a character, but can we try our underscore as earlier stated? Let me see. So this works fine. All right, so thank you very much, and I think that will be all for this particular aspect of the introduction to Python training. Up next, we are going to be learning about data types. I hope you are going to like the video, comment. If you have any question, I want you to drop it in the comment section. I will look out for it, and I'm going to respond to each of your questions. And if you have any suggestion as well, you can also drop it in the comment section. Please try to like, share, comment so that this video can reach as many as possible people. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope it was helpful. All right, bye.